This week's scenario is Incursion from the 2016 Steamroller packet. This scenario does not have the Kill Box artifice in effect and consists of 3 flags. The flags can be controlled for 1 CP or dominated for 1 CP. Victory conditions consist of 5 control points or caster assassination. Hey everybody, Taodark here. So we attended Lock and Load, and as soon as we got our new casters, we decided, let's do it. Let's put these new casters on the channel as our first Mark 1 battle report. So, since I'm playing Khador, I got the opportunity to play Lord Kozlov and basically design a list that kind of accents reach and engagement on feet turn for the unyielding ability.
Hey everyone, Polarbearcub here. So, Mark 3 just started. This is a few hours after we've gotten the rules. So with this list, I decided to go with Beth and Maddox, and the theme is really Storm Knight. There's 2 Stormclads in here, we have Fireflies, a lot of electrical damage coming out here. Strange ways to try to repair. Pretty much everything but the trenchers are immune to electricity.
So I go first, and for my deployment, I'm basically looking at the table. There's a lot of obstructions on the table. We're actually playing on one of the Lock and Load scenic tables. We thought it was a great opportunity to get a really visually dynamic table to play in, and we basically decided that all the pylons, even the 3 that are little ones that are around the big dais in the center, are going to be obstructions. So there's a lot of obstructions in play, and I want to use those to my advantage. So I kind of just deployed with the jacks in the center, and we'll go from there.
Alright, so trenchers are the only thing that's advanced deploying this army. So with the amount of jacks that he has, and with the snipers, I really want to get my Stormclads up there as soon as possible. And I want them to try to protect my Stormblades as much as possible. I'm not as concerned with my my Storm Lances. I think they can definitely take a couple of hits. The sniper does concern me a little bit, but everything else, you know, I'm looking pretty happy with. Really with this list, the Stormclads are going to stay as close to Stormblades as possible. That way, every single time they start, they get 2 focus. Feet is going to be really, really important here, because with those 3 Warjacks, I need to remove 2, if not all 3 of them, on my feet turn in order for me to have any chance to survive. Because his jacks are terrifying.
For my AD, my opponent hasn't deployed anything yet that's really one hit point that I want to go after. So I'm really just deploying the sniper crew near the woods so that they could potentially benefit from using that woods to give them concealment and increase their defense. And then I put Eiryss on the right hand side so she can shoot off anything that goes on the Storm Lances.
Alright, so for my AD, I am going to put my trenchers right in front of his snipers because I want to remove them as soon as possible.
Khador, turn 1. So, as I mentioned earlier in deployment, there's a lot of obstructions on the table, and I wanted to run my jacks basically up the center. I've committed myself to basically playing a left-hand game. I'm going to be aiming for the central flag and then hoping to start controlling the far left-hand flag. The right-hand flag is really just going to be a matter of contesting. Which is why I put the pikemen on that side. They'll be able to pass through and around that objective or that obstruction that is right next to that flag, and I won't have any major issues over it. So I go ahead and advance up my Juggernaut, or actually I run up with one of the free focus from Power Boost. So I run him into position. At speed 4, they're not that great at getting that far up the board, but I basically get him into a position where I can have Malakov come up and put Redline on him. Because Redline only damages at the end of a model's activation by applying it to the Juggernaut after it's run, I basically get a turn of running, and then I can put the upkeep up and continue later and not have to worry about taking damage in the first turn. I then run up Beast and Ruin, put them together to kind of form a wall so that the trenchers might not necessarily get to me. I don't think they might be able to, but I'm not sure. And then I advance up the pikemen and put them into position around the obstruction, and then put Tax Supremacy up on the pikemen. I actually do a screw up here, and it's something I shouldn't have done, but basically Tactical Supremacy is at the end of the unit's activation, so it's not at the end of all activations, which is where I go through and I do a 3-inch move at the end. So this is a screw up on my part. It should not have happened. I shouldn't have gotten those 3 inches, and I apologize to my opponent for that. And then I just advance Eiryss up.
Alright, so turn 1, there are already some units of opportunity. Kell Bailoch has got to die. If that guy stands still, he's removing 2 focus points a turn. So, I'm going to start off with moving up my Firefly. And he's just walking up, and the great thing is now with how pre-measuring works, I get to have all the fun of taking a look at what everything's doing. So I really could have started out with running the Firefly. My fear was I didn't want him to get charged right away. So anyway, so he activated, I put Dauntless Resolve on the Stormblades, and I put Snipe on the Trenchers. So Trenchers are going to activate, and they are going to try to remove Kell Bailoch, and then any of the remaining shots are going to be going towards taking out some of his Iron Fang pikemen. So what I'm going to do is, just to make sure he dies, I'm actually doing a combined range with 4 of them. So it's giving me an effective 10, and then power 14, so I believe it's dice plus 2, so I need to roll a 3 or better to make sure he dies. Or it was dice plus 3 or something like that. So, removed only one other guy. Not terribly exciting, but removing Kell Bailoch was extremely important in making sure that the game would kind of continue on. So, next what I did was I activated both of my Stormclads, and they both ran forward. Oh, also, one of my Stormclads does have a sail on it, so Beth Maddox did put a sail on him. That's going to help out with getting any free charges, just in case I get to. Really, everything else is just going to be moving up forward. The Storm Lances, when they activate, I'm going to be looking at doing some assaults. Just trying to remove some of his units as soon as possible. The Iron Fang pikemen, I think they're going to cause an issue later on down the road. If I don't kind of get rid of them, I want to be able to focus on those 3 jacks as much as possible. So far with these rules that we've gotten, overall pretty excited with how Cygnar has shaped up, especially with Maddox. I really like the idea of Maddox. The plus 3 power is a huge swing. In a lot of ways, I think it's better than an additional die. It gives me a lot steadier amount of damage I'm doing. I know when my Stormclads activate, they're going to be doing power plus strength 22, which is a terrifying amount of damage. My Stormblades, as long as you're within 5 inches of the unit leader, are going to be doing POW 18s. Even with the Firefly is just going to do a lot for them.
Khador, turn 2. So, Maddox has Snipe. Good to know. Wish I would have known that before, but I guess that requires me to read my opponent's cards. My fault. So he's advanced up, and I basically come to the conclusion that when facing against Cygnar, you gotta engage them early, and you gotta engage them fast. So I'm gonna use my feet this turn, because my feet gives me +2 on my movement. And that'll allow me to basically, just shunt up the board super quick, and with my reach and the increased speed, and if I just run, I can get my jacks up there, I can get my pikemen shoved up in there, and then I can basically blunt it. I can't necessarily sit on the back end of this zone and wait for them to get closer to get basically a Khador Alpha Strike, if that is even such a thing. And then use the feet turn as kind of a blunter to any sort of counter result. Also to my advantage, or at least I'm telling myself to my advantage, is I'm using my feet turn not only to get me engaged, but to force the counter feat, so that my opponent has to basically counter feat to get past the unyielding bonus that I get from my feet. I know that she's at +3, so technically she'll be 1 point higher and automatically already counter the fact of my feet. But since I'm using my feet more as an engaging tool than necessarily anything else, I'm accepting of that. But at least I know that I hopefully can control my opponent's ability of when he's going to pop his feet, so I don't have to worry about his feet potentially being used on, my caster or something else like that. So I have to kind of play around how I'm going to do with it. I basically set it up where I pop my feet, I don't put up tactical supremacy on the pikemen anymore. I give them fury because I'm going to have them go in and go after those Stormclads to try and kill, I'm hoping 2 or 3, but with the new rules, I'm not exactly sure at the time how much I'm going to be able to get away with. It would have been awesome if I could just kill all 5 of them, but my opponent's positioned 2 of them kind of in a way that I'm not going to necessarily get a charge on. So the pikemen are going in. Some of them are getting actual charges. Others are getting just runs to be in position. And if I remember correctly, I believe I also popped their mini feat, so that since these are black dragons, they're going to have Iron Zeal, which again stacks on top of. So 14 goes to 18, Unyielding puts them to 20. If I could put them into base of base, if I was to, instead of running, if I was doing a shield wall order, it increases their armor even higher, which is one of the reasons why I put the black dragons in this specific list. Is I'm hoping to in other games use that shield wall and Iron Zeal and feat turn to just basically give me a unit that's not going to die. Even though they're single wounds, they're not going to die without any considerable effort towards killing them. I obviously have to be wary of things that might have continuous effects. So I advanced my snipers up. I had put them into the woods, but my opponent's not necessarily going to let me just sit on that far side and shoot away. So I advanced them up in the hopes of taking out some of those trenchers. So basically setting up some line of shots to get rid of those trenchers. I don't want to have a scenario where there's cloud walls going up and now I can't necessarily do anything because I can't see anything. You know, Ruin sitting in the back of the zone wishing that he could be up there to collect all those tasty souls, but I'm going to have to leave Ruin in the back as sort of a backup piece. I will commit my Beast 09 and my Juggernaut. That way they can really get up the table because the Juggernaut only has a 1-inch reach, which I really love. Don't get me wrong, I really love the fact that the Juggernaut has 1-inch reach. He's going to have to use Redline to really get up there, and he basically gets up there and engages the two. Ideally, maybe I could have gotten away with just engaging the Juggernaut, but I was worried about this scenario where one of those Stormclads and some of the Stormblades might be able to kill off the Juggernaut, and then the other would advance up, and I want to keep him away from the flags. I want to push up so far that he's not able to get towards the flags, and I can start doing scenario. So I advanced Beast 09 up as well to give him something else to chew on, to keep him back there. Kind of keep that reach so that nothing can get past him, and then I set Ruin up for the next turn, so anything that does kill those two or kill one of them or whatever, Ruin can in turn come in and beat them up.
Alright, so turn 2. So a couple things need to happen. One, I've got to pop my feet this turn. That's not really... I didn't realize he could move that far. So goal is going to be is 1, pop my feet. Second off, going to remove Eiryss, and then I've got to kill both of those Jacks this turn. I'm a little sad that he did not get Ruin up further, but oh well. So first what I'm going to do is I activate the Firefly. I want to get him within 5 inches of both of his Jacks. If I get them that close, then that means whenever I'm doing any of my assaults, which is going to be a pretty decent amount, I will get the +2 on electrical damage rolls. So after he moves, he's going to roll to try to take a shot. So he took a shot at one of the models, one of the Iron Fang pikemen, just because any extra shots are going to help out. I rolled for an additional dice, and I only got 1 extra shot. So I hit that guy, but did not do any damage, because again, he's armor ridiculous, because they have Iron Zeal and feet up, and then it bounced to another person, didn't do any damage. So one of the things I should have done is I needed to focus more on what was going on with the scenario. This is going to be an issue with this turn if I don't get enough things over to the scenario. With him having Malakov there, that really puts me in a little bit of a danger. I'm not too concerned about the other scenario points because I think I'm pretty confident in the fact that I'll be able to get enough stuff over there. And there's no way my Stormlances will be wiped off the table in order for me to lose that. I can get them close enough to be within 4 inches. So Maddox, she's activating. She upkept Assail because I think I can go get a charged range on there. She obviously kept up Dauntless. Resolve, she drops Snipe. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to be popping my feet. 12 inches, really short. But with I think Sylys is still better with her, so I can keep a spell for free. So unfortunately my Stormlances are going to be out of that power 12. But my Stormblades and my Stormclads are definitely within. So next what I'm going to be doing is I'm activating the Stormblades, and they are all getting the order to assault. So they're going to be assaulting that Jack on the far end there. He's armed 22, so the goal is to get them all within 5 inches of the unit leader, and then also get as many of them into melee as possible. So within 5 inches of unit leader, they're all close enough to the Firefly, the model the enemy warjack is. So you're going to be doing power 16s. So with power 16, it's still dice minus 6. Not terrible. Not terrible because it could have been dice minus 8 without the Firefly. So I did a pretty good job, pretty much getting everyone within 5 inches. But I did not pay close enough attention to the scenario this turn, so I did not get a model, or I did not run a jack over there or anything, which is a pain because at the end of this one, I'm going to lose a control point. So I'm just rolling. I do some damage. I think I only end up doing about 5 or 6, which isn't bad for my range attacks. And then with my melee, they're power strength 18, so it's only dice minus 4. So I got 3 people in there, but I ended up knocking out about half of his boxes just within that charge. So very, very happy with that. Next one I'm doing is activating my Gun Mage Captain Adept. He is going to try to take a shot at Eiryss. I'm doing Snipe plus Brutal because the Gun Mage Captain Adept is awesome. So I have to roll an 8 on 2 dice, which I successfully do, which I'm very excited about. Roll 3 dice of damage and remove her off the table. Again, that's just going to help out with my jacks to keep surviving. That's going to stop her from being able to disrupt them, which I think is a huge thing. Also, it removed him from being able to control that scenario point. Now he has nothing to be able to contest it. So next big thing I need to do is I need to get my trenchers out of the way in order for me to successfully do a charge. So the one trencher moves out. The second one, he's within 2 inches, so I do have to take a free strike. I'm kind of hoping I survive, but unfortunately I don't. And then there's one more trencher that is in that corner there. He's going to try to be a badass and stab somebody. So this trench right here, he's going to stab at an Iron Fang Pikeman. He's a decent mat, but he just doesn't have the power to really remove anything. So next, activate that Stormclad. He has a sale on him, so he gets to charge for free. So I have all of my initial attacks still, and I have 3 extra focus to really be able to remove this jack. And I only have to roll a 3 to damage. So my first attack successfully hits the charge, which is great because it is power plus strength 22, so I'm rolling straight dice, 3 dice of damage. It does ledge leap and remove that Stormclad, that's trencher, but that's the only time actually we did the ledge leaps afterwards. Definitely forgot about them, or else I could have potentially removed that Iron Fang Pikeman. But I'm rolling. If I hit all of my attacks, I will be able to remove him. Unfortunately, I did miss one. I got Snake Eyes on one of my attacks, so that does do a pain. But I did almost all the damage to him. So next, I activate the next Stormclad. He just walks up. He's gonna first remove that Stormblade. Sorry, he's going to remove that Jack, and then afterwards he's going to start wailing on that second Jack to try to remove him as well. And honestly, with this, it was a my feat versus your feat. I think my +3 feat definitely did a little bit better than his +2 armor. So again, man, I'm really excited about my next feat. It really cranks up some damage for the Stormblades and for the Stormclads for the entire army. So I was able to remove both the jacks. I'm really happy. I still have to deal with Ruin, but I'm pretty sure that my jacks, at least one of them, should survive well enough to be able to put some damage on Ruin. So next what I do is my Storm Lances activate, and they're going to go forward and just start wrecking havoc. One big thing I'm going to say is make sure you remember your reposition during this entire game, because it's such a new rule, and there's so many other things I was thinking about. I did not remember reposition this entire game, so with that being said, like, that's a pretty big deal. So please make sure you remember your reposition. So right now, it's a couple of, they're just moving forward. I'm doing mount attacks, doing electro leaps, anything really to start removing those units. So I got them close enough removed, and I'm just within 4 inches to where I'll be able to contest that flag. So overall, 2 of those points are contested, but as you can see, that final flag over there is not contested at all, which is not good. So that's going to end up hurting my turn.
Khador, turn 3. So I'm a little disappointed that my jacks didn't survive. Well, I shouldn't say my jacks. I'm really disappointed at least one of my jacks didn't survive with something on it. Both of my jacks basically died out, and that's a testament that underneath Maddox, Cygnar isn't the easy to pick on. If I engage you and lock up your shooting, you can't do anything Cygnar army anymore. This army has punch. Has a lot of punch, and I foolishly thought that shoving 2 jacks in, one of them would be able to survive. Obviously, I would hope Beast 09 would survive more than Maddox, or more than the Juggernaut, but I at least have a scenario where because I ran the Junior Warcaster up in order to engage a flag, I got a scenario point last turn, which allows me to get a second point this turn. So I'm already in a pretty aggressive gain to push that scenario and even further. But I've got to get rid of the heavies, because now that I'm down to a single heavy and my caster, who is a weapons master and can get work done, I'm still unsure of, with the new focus rules, how much abuse a armor 17 caster can take, so I'm not comfortable committing him anytime soon. So I'm going to put Fury up onto Ruin, and I'm going to convert 2 of his souls, or I'm sorry, I'm going to give him enough focus and basically give him all of his focus. My hope is that if I activate him in, I kill off 1, maybe 2 of those Stormclads, and then when I'm in range, because I got the pre-measure now, when I'm in range and the snipers kill off the Stormblades, then he will get souls that can turn into focus in the following turn. I really love the fact that with power up and souls, Ruin has a capacity of basically, once he's got 2 souls on him and he can continue to get 2 souls every turn, he becomes an autonomous jack. He doesn't need any allocation from my caster. He just converts souls, gets souls, converts souls, so on and so forth. So Ruin goes in, he's got Fury on him, so he's punching at 22s with his mace. He's 21s with his mace. God, I'm gonna get this right sooner or later. And he is just getting work done, mostly because my dice are crazy hot. I was actually sitting in the hall when I was rolling dice, and I was like, hot dice, get your hot dice here, because it was insane. Like, he was doing a ton of damage, and basically he not only crippled out a fully assembled jack, Stormclad, but he also knocked the other Stormclad down to not having any arms on him at all either. So here the snipers have advanced up, and they're shooting off Stormblades for no other purpose than A, to keep my junior relatively safe from a charge by killing off the closest Stormblades to him, and also to feed Ruin souls, so that in the following turn he becomes somewhat autonomous to my caster's focus pool. I've got a bunch of pikemen left over. They're not really going to get much done, especially with the fact that I put Fury on Ruin. So I get a couple charges in, but I'm not necessarily doing it for the sake of trying to kill things. I'm doing it for the sake of jam. I want to keep my opponent away from scoring any scenarios that there's over 50% on the Stormblade. So one of those charges actually did take the 3rd Stormblade out of that, or Storm Knight clad Storm something or other horseman out of that unit, Stormlance out of that unit, so now that it can no longer control on scenario, so we're good there as well.
Alright, turn 3. So Ruin did a lot more damage than I thought. Hot dice are a thing, and that really hurt a lot. So the goal of this turn is I need to put as much damage on Ruin as possible. I've got to try to take back all 3 of those control points. So I can definitely contest with the that one over to the far side, the one's close to the screen, and then I can throw a model over towards where Malakov is. Kind of just debating whether or not I want to put the Firefly, or if I just want to throw some Stormblades up that way. If I do the Firefly, I think I'll be far enough out where, one, I won't be able to shoot those Iron Fang pikemen, which does concern me a little bit. I want to remove them as much as possible because I don't want them getting close to Beth. But that's kind of really my biggest thing, is if I move him too far, I won't be able to shoot them. So with Beth, my goal is for Beth is that once I get the Stormblades in to Ruin, Beth is going to activate, and I'm going to try to get a crit disruption. Not sure what's going to happen. I really, really hope I can do it. but just in case I can't, that's going to stink, because crit disruption, he's not going to be able to change any of those souls into focus points, which would be really nice. So next what I'm trying to do is my Storm Lances, I want to try to get one of them to charge over to Ruin. In order to do that, I need to get the Storm Lance that's closest to the screen. He needs to do an impact attack on that model right in front of me, and then continue on to the model in the back. What I didn't realize was the model closest in front of me, well, at first, before we start talking about it, was that was the unit attachment, so he has 5 health. So I'd have to roll a 7, I believe, on damage in order to kill him. And I'm just not that confident in my ability to be able to impact that. Because I really need that one Stormlance to be on the right hand side of that Iron Fang Pikeman that's furthest back near that circle. So what I end up doing is I activate the Stormlances. I only activated one, I forgot to activate the other to move him around. I'm kind of just looking at my repositioning. That way if I can stab the one guy to make sure that Electro leaps over. Beautiful thing with electrical immunity now is that it does not target anyone that has any of the electrical leaps does not target anyone that has electrical immunity, so that really helps out a lot of positioning. So Stormlances end up killing that, and then what I need to do next is I should have repositioned, but again I forgot about repositioning. So Stormblades activate. The unit attachment goes over towards the flag to contest it, so at least he won't get a contestant point tonight. Well, not tonight. This turn. And then the other Stormblades are going to be charging forward to try to put some damage on Ruin. It's dice -4 for their assault because they're so close to the Stormlands, the Firefly. And then dice -5 for melee damage. Only a couple swings on there. What I really should have done was the previous turn, I did not get Strange Race far enough up the previous turn, or else I could have had him go up and start removing some damage from the Stormclad, which really would have helped me out. So he ran forward in case the Stormclad survives, but he won't, I'm pretty sure. Next Beth activates, going to spin my focus point to try to shoot, and I miss.
Khador, turn 4. Things are I mean, I basically lost my pikemen. That's, I mean, kind of okay with me. They've really did their purpose. They've gummed up that area. They've contested that zone. They've killed enough of the Stormlances that he can't necessarily control that side of the table. Ruin is just a freaking beast. I mean, he is just taking a punch on the face. He's still got his mace going on, so he's still able to get in there and beat the snot out of things. My opponent has ran over a model to contest me from scoring with my junior, so obviously the snipers are going to go through the effort of making sure that model was removed so that I can score again on this turn, putting me to 3. And then it's just a matter of how much work can Ruin get done. I've got a bunch of Stormblades engaged with me, so I don't need the snipers to feed me souls. So Ruin's using Fist to convert into souls for a following turn. And I'm basically trying to identify what models do I need to remove in order to remove the contesting bubble, the 4-inch contesting range, potentially for my caster to run up and get involved in that center flag. It actually, on hindsight, it probably would have been risky if I did actually move my caster up to go after the flag, because it opens up Stormblade or Stormlances to charging my caster. So I'm kind of glad that I don't. I end up finishing off the last Stormclad, and I've got 3 Stormblades in my area. 2 of them continue to keep toughing, and then I take a swing on the one that carries the cannon gun, which I can't remember what the weapon's called, but it's basically the weapon attachment. So the 2, the flag standard and the officer are on the ground, and then I end up killing out the actual gun to get my 3rd soul on to Ruin. I basically put into a scenario where my opponent has to deal with Ruin, because if he doesn't, Ruin gets to go after his caster next turn. And I'm okay with that scenario. But basically setting up, I'll get my 3rd point. I'm still driving for the scenario. I move not Anastasia. I move Madelyn into the snipers for succor, and then I run my caster over to get away from those storm lances.
All right, turn 4. So things are looking a little grim. What I need to do is get my models up there. So the Firefly, because there's not much left, he activates, he gets within 4 inches to contest, and he's going to try to remove Madelyn Corbeau. So the way how I do that is I target one of his snipers, and then I'm going to have the damage bounce over to her. For me, that's the best way in order to remove her, because that way succor will not activate. So it successfully does that. Really excited about that, because that means it gives me a chance to be able to try and kill his Warcaster. So next, what I'm trying to do is look at what I'm going to do with trying to remove Ruin. So I activate Beth first. I'm going to boost a shot into him again, so I could try to crit disrupt him. I hit him, but no such luck on crit disruption. So next what I'm going to do is I'm activating my 2 Stormblades that were knocked down. They both stand up and they move over to the side. I could have just had them swing, but I really want to make sure my Stormblades get in there and do some damage. So Stormblades both, they move up and they assault. Again, 5 inches. It's a huge thing that's been really helpful. So they're at +2 to their +2 to their range attack damage rolls. And then rolling some dice on one hit, that hit right there, I believe I did just about 20 damage or so. Did a lot of damage to Ruin to really knock out some damage systems. So he only has a few health left on him. So believe with that, I end up removing Ruin. Very happy about that. Kind of wish I would have gotten my Storm Lances in there a lot sooner.
Khador, turn 5. So an interesting scenario with all this pre-measuring. A lot of people have been talking about how with pre-measuring you're going to choke up a lot of your clock because you're spending so much time measuring. And though that is true, you will use more time as you just pre-measure everything that's capable. One of the other things that's causing this game to continue on for so long is because of pre-measuring, players don't necessarily have to enter into a scenario where they don't know if they're going to lose models. You can position yourself to prevent yourself from getting charged. You can position yourself to stay out of gun ranges, which means models stay alive longer, which means the game continues longer because there's more things that you can do, more engagements that you can do. So pre-measuring is definitely going to be increasing game length. We're now on turn 5, and I guarantee you if we didn't have pre-measurings, I wouldn't have been able to keep certain models safe or use pre-measuring to bring Ruin to full efficiency with souls or a lot of other things that are available to get things in play. So for this scenario, we're down to pittance. There's not much left. I'm trying to see if there's some way if I can measure off to get a side step in order to offer the charge off of the Stormblade or lance that's there to get to the caster. But I instead decide to go for a scenario where I'm going to make my opponent have a choice. I'm going to have my caster go charge off against the Stormlance, kill him, sidestep to engage with the flag, and then it becomes a scenario of your caster can't contest me, so you either move your Jack away that's currently contesting the Junior, away from the Junior to come after my caster, allowing the Junior to score, or you leave my caster on the flag, allowing him to score. Either way, you can't deny both, so I get my final point in his turn to win the game. The only thing that's available for my opponent, obviously, is for his ability to kill my caster, so I don't spend any of my focus. I sit on all 6 so that I can turn around and use that to take the -5 on damage for anything that he potentially does to hopefully keep my caster alive.
Alright, so this is the final turn of the game. Without having a model there that is not the Warcaster, I cannot contest that, so I have to kill him this turn. If I would have used reposition with Storm Lances, I'm pretty sure I would have done a lot better because he could have moved 3 inches out of the way and he wouldn't have been able to charge in and kill him. So with Beth, she has to charge in and do a lot of damage. My very first charge attack, I end up missing, so it kind of really puts things downhill. As I'm going through, Less attacks. I'm starting to see he has so much focus on him. There's only so much I can do. So with the 2 focus left, I just ended up activating the Firefly. He went in and I figured, screw it, if anything else, I'm going to kill Malakov if I cannot do anything else this turn. And that's really it for the game. Overall, I'm really happy with how the list played, but unfortunately I did not pay attention to scenarios soon enough. And those snipers, really should have prioritized targeting on those snipers. So, afterthoughts. Overall, really happy with Cygnar still. I think they're an amazing faction this time around. Really good at Mark 2, very happy with them Mark 3. For me personally, I just have to pay attention to scenario right from the beginning. If I do not do that, obviously that is the easiest way to lose with Cygnar at this point. So anyways, thank you guys very much, and thank you very much to everyone we met at Lock and Load and watched us for our very first game of Mark 3.